Black people inferior to the spaces that they occupy.
Hi lovelies, and welcome back to another TikTok video. If you're new here, my name is Belinda Stranad and here is Ballistic Gist. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you will be the first person to be notified. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so much for all the love and support. To those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, you guys are the real MVP. I also want to use this medium to say or to wish all of us a happy Christmas and a prosperous New Year. Alright lovelies, let's get into the video. So lovelies, I came across this video on my For You page on TikTok and I thought to share with you guys where this, woman actually shared her experience being, wealthy Black woman in a white dominated neighborhood, and how these people often feel anytime they'll say that, people of color is trying to meet up to their standard or even coming above their standard. This actually made a lot of people to stitch her videos, and I was just able to put up these stitches together, guys. I'm just gonna be rolling the clip as well as the stitches I was able to put together, and by the end of this video, as usual, I'll be leaving my own thoughts. Guys, why not do your girl a huge favor to also share your experience in the comment section, like stitch this video. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done that already. Leave in your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this, and if you know you've had something like this kind of experience, you can also share it in the comment section, because we all want to learn. And do not forget that this channel does not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We are just here for educational and informative purposes, guys. So lovelies, why not relax, share, leave your thoughts, and let's get into the video.
Being Black and upper class has in no way been a persecution for me. It has, however, been a front row seat to a kind of white rage that affects everyone, no matter what social, racial category you slot into in society. This rage flies under the radar, it's made invisible, it's been around for a long time, it runs on the same economic, political playbook that it has since the end of the Civil War, and it's hurting all of you. All of you. Unless you're Jeff Bezos. But that's not you. A very small example of this is a couple of years back, I was all dressed up with Black and white cousins. We're all dressed up. There's a good group of us, maybe 12, and we're going to the symphony. This symphony is it's manned by tons of volunteers, right? People who want to help you, people who are excited to see young people come to the symphony. And we get there and I've got my 8 or 9 tickets all connected. And this older white woman, member of my community, is doing the scanning. I can tell from the get-go, she doesn't really want to help me. She's peeved. And I'm thinking, why? I've got this huge group of people coming in. Like, this is a win for the local community symphony. So she scans all my tickets, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She gets to the 8th or 9th one. I don't remember how many exactly we had. It doesn't beep. Now, mind you, I had to pick up these tickets at will call with an ID, with my name. And she knows this because she's a volunteer. Before I come to her, she scans the last ticket that has the symphony's name on it. I mean, it's got all the official stuff. And she explodes with this quiet anger and this total frustration. Like, she's just like, she knew it. She knew I was a thief. And she loudly, in front of everybody, accuses me basically of stealing a ticket and attaching it to the legitimate tickets, which is how you should do crime. Now, that's a ridiculous thing. We sorted it out. We found out that yes, while she was following the rules as to what to do if, I guess, a thief comes and attaches a fake ticket to a bunch of real tickets, she did not know how to use her scanner properly. But instead of having customer service, instead of thinking about how one should approach this, she responded with the anger that was already inside of her. She'd already assumed and knew that this kind of place was not for people like us. And she didn't want to have to let us in. And if she could get us out on a technicality, on a quiet rule, and she threw up her hands, I can't help you, I can't do anything, she would. That is a very tiny, low stakes example of the work Carol Anderson, as a historian, has done in looking at the documented and demonstrated examples of rule making and code making that certain people in higher classes have used to quietly make sure that lower class whites and Black people with wealth cannot get ahead. When Carol Anderson decided to write White Rage, it had come after she'd been asked for the Washington Post to write an op-ed in the wake of August 2014 when the Black Lives Matter riots were exploding. Her critique was that we were looking at Black rage. We were looking at physical anger, destruction of property, all those different things. And she was making it very clear in that first essay and then in her book that you can't understand this rage unless you understand the other kind of rage. That's the rage that uses your political power, your legal power, to write laws and little caveats into things to make sure that you undermine the wealth of people believed to be Black, and you make sure that people who are believed to be white, who are in lower classes, never politically come together with those people. Now, who does that cost? It costs the democracy, and it costs all sorts of other classes that aren't in the ruling class. Because what they're doing is you're undermining, as she shows in her book, you're undermining voting rights. You're undermining this ability for the lower classes to look at each other and go, hey, our taxes should be going toward X, Y, and Z. Carol's research, I should say Miss Anderson's research, is an invitation to look at the kind of responses that have legally always existed to the advancement of Black people or the advancement of lower classes coming together and saying, this is how we would like to be treated. She's making it clear that if we don't look at the playbook, we're going to miss it in today's age. It's not something that happened back then. It's something that's happening now. We're going to be looking at this work because there's going to come a point in time when you are trying to rightfully access something that is yours, and you're going to be told that if it is given to you or if you want it, it's probably because you stole it or you shouldn't have it. As a historian, she's making these brilliant connections about how this is an assault on Black middle class, but then you can go out and see it's also the middle class as a whole. It's really important that we contextually understand our history because we're all bound up together, and all of our lives and our pursuit of happiness and liberty, it's connected. And there are reasons that people don't want you to understand that because you become dangerous when you know that. You're less of a victim and you're more of a threat. So I'm excited to read this book. If you've read this book, if you finished it, if you know of any other things of Carol Anderson's that you just really particularly want to look at, please write in the comments.
Into a first suburb neighborhood, I was out on a walk with my son, and this white lady stopped me to say, oh my gosh, how sweet of you to nanny for this family. Which I responded, I'm not the nanny, this is my son. She then was just like, oh, okay, so you're a stay-at-home mom. I said, yes, I am. She didn't say anything else. She kind of just walked off. If you're thinking maybe that's a regular conversation people have, it absolutely is not. This woman asked me that because she's like, why are you out during business hours, getting coffee and not working? When we moved into our second neighborhood, I had 3 under 3. I go to meet up with a couple of moms, about 4 white moms, because I'm new to the neighborhood. When I pull up with my stroller, this woman looks at me and goes, oh my gosh, it must be so hard being a single mom and of twins at that. I look at her and I'm like, I wouldn't know. I'm married. And then she was like, oh, good for you. So it must be the daycare. Daycare is so expensive. And then I was like, is that why you're a stay-at-home mom? Because of daycare? She goes, oh, no. My husband just doesn't want me to work. I said, neither does mine. The amount of rage, hate, and anger I experience every day on this app for choosing to be a stay-at-home mom who doesn't do it all, who prioritizes herself, who wants to outsource, who wants to enjoy motherhood. This rage is really just because they do not think I deserve the same experiences. They feel like they've reserved those experiences for themselves. For many, many years, Black women were not even allowed to be stay-at-home mom. For many years, Black women were forced to raise other people's children. So I could understand why they think these experiences are only reserved for them. And the only way we can have these experiences is if we're suffering for them, is if we are struggling to be in them. And I tell you, it makes their butthole itch that I get to enjoy motherhood. I mean, butthole itch, the anger.
So if you haven't watched that video, go back and watch it. They're talking about white rage and how white people seemingly just have this anger and rage towards black people when they deem black people inferior to the spaces that they occupy or their achievements or their wealth. And I just want to come on here and give my experiences with, I guess, some, white rage, because I feel like most of us, if not all, have experienced some degree of white rage. And I remember one instance that stood out for me, and this happened over 10 years ago. I was doing my prereqs for nursing school, and I was in this chemistry class with a professor and I was failing this class miserably. And the semester before that, I'd made the president's list. And so they had like the ceremony and they give you refreshments, a little ribbon that says you made the president list, and a certificate. And here I am, proud as a peacock, walking in the class, sit down in my seat, my ribbon is on, I have my certificate, feeling very accomplished. And the professor came over, looked at me, my ribbon and my certificate, turned to the young lady next to me and said, "You should have made the president's list." Legit. You should have made the president list. This man did not acknowledge me in any way. He just turned to her and said, "You should have made the president's list." Yep. I dropped that class so fast. When I tell you I didn't waste any time, I dropped that class, went to another school, did that same course or its equivalent, and got my A and take my ass into nursing school. Didn't even hesitate. But again, he didn't think I deserved to be on that list. Mind you, this was maybe the second month in the semester, so he didn't really know me more than maybe once or twice a week when we met for 4 weeks the month prior. Another experience is more recent. I was going on my trip to Europe finally, because I've been planning this for years. I was able to afford it now. So I decided that if I'm going to Europe, I'm going to do business class. And so I saved all my rewards and my money for this trip. Like, I had a saving account where this was my Europe trip. Like, if you ask my friends and my family, always talking about when I finally go on my Europe trip. And I got my Delta One business class. It could have been any airline, but I chose to go with Delta. And got to the airport trying to access the lounge. And so the lady downstairs scanned my ticket, sent me upstairs to go to the lounge. And I kid you not, before I came off that elevator, this looking lady, she could have been Spanish, I don't know, but she was beckoned to me and asked to see my boarding pass in a very condescending way, like, boarding pass, whatever. Showed her my boarding pass, and I kid you not, she had the most satisfying smile or grin on her face when she told me I was outside the 3-hour window to access the lounge, because it was crowded, I guess, and they were limiting the time that you could access the lounge and stay in the lounge, and so you couldn't access the lounge before the 3-hour window, 3 hour from your departure time. And she said, "Oh, you have to go downstairs." And she was so pleased that she was kicking me out of the lounge. So I went downstairs and I'm chatting it up with this lady at the to-go stand. And I'm talking to the other workers. Several workers stopped by, like, "Are you okay? I see you standing here. What's going on?" And he's like, so I'm saying, "Oh, I'm just waiting to access the lounge," stuff like that. And he's like, "All right, can I get you anything?" "No, I'm good." I was like, "All right, see ya." Other workers saw me there. She kept coming up and down, looking at me. I'm not paying her no mind. So now it's finally my 3-hour window to go upstairs in the lounge. When I'm about to go up on the escalator, she was coming down. stopped me and inquired to know, wanting to know if I had rejoined the line. So I said, no, I didn't rejoin the line. I was standing in the line for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I'm not going to rejoin the line. Well, you can't go upstairs because you skipped the line. You're not allowed to skip the line, and whatever. It was getting real loud. The other gentleman that was at the door overheard or saw what was going on, came to me, introduced himself, asked to see my boarding pass, scanned my boarding pass, saw that I was within the 3 hours where I could access the lounge, and sent me on my way. Sent me upstairs and told me to have a nice time. Before he even finished, she walked away because she knew what she was doing. She knew it was ODing. She knew it was uncalled for. I got upstairs, settled in, about to get up and to join the line, to get some food, get some refreshments and stuff like that. Another gentleman came to me, introduced himself, asked me my name, shook my hand, and sincerely apologized about what happened. He was so apologetic, and I appreciated that. Even though my spirits were already dampened, even though I already felt some type of way, that apology made it a little better. Like, those two gentlemen made it somewhat better. You know what I mean? And we were just there talking. He's asking me where I'm going, wishing me a safe flight, and he hoped to see me again, and whatever. But like, the very first experience when you go somewhere, it kind of like, if that's the experience, it's like, and I feel like as Black people, we've experienced this one way or another to some degree. Same experience coming back from London, joining the Delta One line to check in and check my baggage. Clearly in the Delta One line, where it has a huge sign that says Delta One business class, this lady over the other side came all the way, stopped what she was doing, came all the way over here to ask if I have a Delta One ticket. Ma'am, I'm in this line. I can read. Showed her my ticket, saw that it says Delta One. She did not say a word to me more than turn her back and went back to do what she was doing. Got through TSA, made my way to the gate. Now they're calling you to board. And when they say persons with ticket A or group B, whatever. They say ticket people with business class or Delta One. Like 4, 5, 6 people probably were in front of me. I don't know. She scanned all of them. Have a good flight. Have a good flight. Have a good flight. Have a good flight. Got to me. Delta One. Do you have a Delta One ticket? At this point, because it was that same heifer, I was just like, I was done talking. It was just too much. She scanned my boarding pass. Did not even, how she was, have a good flight, all chatty and nice without, she turned her back and scanned somebody else. Not a peep out of her word. That was my first experiences flying on Delta One or flying on Delta in business class. That's it. And while the service from everybody else has been amazing, I loved flying Delta business class. Like, the service was top notch. It was good. Those two experiences was just like, damn, I can't just be Black in peace. Like, I can't just be Black in peace. Anyways, those are my experiences with white rage. And you're always going to be reminded that you're Black. No matter how much money you have, no matter how educated or what you've achieved.
Y'all, please go back and watch that entire stitch, because that's probably been the most informative video on the things that have been resonating in my head recently. And it has everything to do as me being raised in the suburbs as a black man and the experiences that I've been dealing with as an adult, right? Both as a revert and understanding someone that has read scriptures and looked at the historical context of the gaslighting that has been done to black Americans and just people in the world as a whole. Because as a black person, you are not allowed to be intelligent, be fit, have self-confidence, know what you're talking about, anything positively reaffirming when it comes to yourself. You are not allowed to have that, because then you are entitled or you are a narcissist. This has everything to do with like how the wording system in America works, right? Then when it comes to just socialization in general, right, you are going to be running to people of all races, of all colors, that are going to try to critique you or check you on your authenticity, because they don't believe that this is how black people are supposed to be, but this is how we actually are. At least when you know and you practice any form of energy manipulation and you know your culture, that's just our culture. Even in your interpersonal long-time relationships that you have with certain people, right? So whenever you have these conflicts that happen on a social level and you try to explain this to some of your, I guess, white friends, for example, or people who don't actually understand, in their minds, they're like, oh, you're just making things up. You're just over exaggerating. Like, they don't actually get it, because that gap that the higher class has put in between, I guess, middle wealth black people and the lower white class, they want you to be like, they're basically effectively manipulating the lower class citizens to think that we're just exaggerating, or that there's no real problem in America when it comes to just oppression and systemic racism. That's why the best thing that you can do as a righteous black person in this country is functionally just keep to yourself, because you're going to be met with hostility and resistance no matter what you do, no matter where you go. Such is life in America.
So when we were picking our house, right, I was looking on Zillow or where I was looking on, and I saw a house, all brick home, beautiful house, for sale. It was a little high, and I didn't really like the interior of the house, but it led me down a rabbit hole, and I found out that the builder was still building in this neighborhood. So we went to go check the neighborhood out. The houses are beautiful. It's a suburban neighborhood. I'm from the city. I never lived in a suburb, and I grew up really poor, so this was definitely going to be like an upgrade for me and my husband. And our neighborhood's it's predominantly white, and then but it was so because every time we would drive through, people would be waving, saying hi, and I'm like, what's going on? It was weird for me, because like and I'm from up north, so like, you know, that southern hospitality, I'm like, are they faking? Is it real? What I come to learn is, so my neighbors have actually, majority of them have been wonderful. Majority of them have been wonderful, but you know, there's always those one or two sprinkled in. And there was 2 times, like when we first moved in, where we could tell it was a problem from someone that we owned a home in this neighborhood. Now this neighborhood is one of the more expensive neighborhoods in the area we live in. And then we have one of the like a larger lot in the neighborhood. So, you know, and then one of the more expensive floor plans in the neighborhood. So I remember like the first time, it was like this white man trying to sell, I don't know what he was trying to sell. I think like pest control or something. And I opened a door, and he's like, can I speak to the owner of this house? And I said, I am the owner of this house. And he's like, oh, I wasn't expecting you to be so, and then he said young. And I'm like, and I just looked at him, and I'm like, tell me how you really feel, because I doubt that's what you were going to say. I mean, you see, like I had a little gray hairs poking out, and I just was like, just go on your way. Like, I don't want your pest control, whatever. And then, like, the next time we ordered the DoorDash, and it was like this old man in his like older pickup truck, and my husband went out. He happened to be outside when he pulled up, and he went to get the food, and the man was like, how was you able to afford this house? And my husband, he was like, the same way you afforded your car. And that's why I love my husband, because sometimes he be so fast with the comebacks. Like, it's the man couldn't even say anything, he just drove off. And I'm like, it's just so crazy how like we feel like there's certain people that feel like we shouldn't have been able to attain the things that we have simply because we're black. it's weird. It's so weird, but it still exists. And thankfully, I mean, I don't mind those people because I like to know which ones are the ones that think that way. Like, I need you to be overt with me. Like, I want to know who I need to avoid. I don't like the ones that pretend to be your friend but waiting to, like, knock you down. Like, yeah, that's my story for today.
All right. After watching this creator's video, I had to come on and give my perspective because I am a professional when it comes to experiencing and alchemizing white rage. So just to give a little background on myself, I am Adam Asise, and I am the author of Black Moon Lilith Rising and the Black Moon Lilith Cosmic Alchemy Oracle. You can see it a little closer. Yes, come see, come see. Let's get a little peeksies. Come see. And I actually do have a small section in my book dedicated to discussing my experience as a Black Moon Lilith Rising. This is someone that I've coined to have Black Moon Lilith conjunct their ascendant, like someone like Marilyn Monroe, or that they have Black Moon Lilith in their first house, and that's someone like me. And I have Black Moon Lilith and Leo, actually just like Marilyn Monroe. And I detail how I was born in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, for those of you who don't know what that means. And it was a very diverse area. And I was there until around, say, the age of 10, in which my mother and my father got divorced, and my mother and I moved to upstate New York, where my mother's from. And I go from being one of a plethora of different types of ethnicities, including Black and African and everybody. It was a melting pot in my school, to being one of five when I got to high school. And of course there were other people of color, but there's probably like 10 or 15 of us. And some of them were of Chinese descent, Indian, and there was probably still only about a handful of Black people. And of course, you naturally stick out and you are the center of attention, but it's not fun. It's not fun, Leo. Black Moon Lilith and Leo means you are quite demonized or feel like the black sheep and just feel like you never fit in. And that's something that I experienced growing up in that majority white town and majority white space. And of course, I still have friends, and I made friendships that were like my brother or my sister at that school, and I made the best of it. But that memory and that lens always has stuck with me. So I just wanted to give you a little background to where I'm coming from in my lens, because I am a professional when it comes to experiencing white rage or microaggressions in certain spaces. And I talk about this briefly in the book. So if you want to learn more about my past and learn more about those stories, check this out. And what's really interesting is my family had been living, my mother's from that town, my aunt went to the high school, my mother went through school there, my grandmother was a teacher there, the first Black one, might I add. And they've been living there since around the 50s and 60s. And the stories that I can't get into it right now. Get the book. I don't get too much into detail because it's other people's lives, but I do talk about it a bit in the book. But that's the lens that I'm coming from, and I of course have a plethora of stories. So I'm not going to talk about the past in this book or in this story time, but I just wanted to give you some foundation on where I'm coming from. Like, I'm not just talking about this without any sort of experience with it. So fast forward to like quite literally last week, today, 2023, December, I went to Art Basel here in Miami, and it was a lot of fun, just so inspiring, met some fantastic artists, even saw some mystical artists, tarot-based artists, sacred geometry. It was so cool. But there were moments of white rage during this event that were absolutely shocking to me, that in such a diverse event as well, everybody, like all different types of people were there, that this is still going on, you know? And so my partner and I, he's a white man, okay? So let's give background on that. We went to a members club that we are actually both a member of. And I won't mention the club because This has nothing to do with them. But we went to a event that basically was like a pre-Art Basel event. So if you are a collector or you want to know how to navigate the event, this was my first Art Basel. Actually, it was both of ours. And my partner has been embedded in the arts, is an artist himself. But, you know, we just had never been to the fair. So we wanted to really know some background on it. So we went to this event. It was really interesting. And after the event, it was time to mix and mingle. So we go and grab some beverages, and we're just kind of standing there. And we started talking to, I would say she was an older white woman, and my partner is older than me as well. And she seemed really friendly. So we started talking to her, like, what do you do? All of that. And basically then she goes to ask, are you two together? And my partner at this point of the conversation had drifted off and was talking to someone else. And I was still talking to this older white woman. And she looked probably about in her 50s or 60s. And she was like, are you two together? And I was like, what? I'm like, huh? And she's like, well, I was just wondering, are you two together? Because you don't look like you'd be together. And I was like, I was trying to calculate in my brain, like, why is this person asking me this? And I was like, yes, I actually know him quite well. And we've been together for about a few years at this point. I know him quite well. She's like, oh, well, you don't look like you'd be together. And I'm nuck if you buck. Like, I will conflict, but I also do it if it's worth it. And I just was like, this isn't worth it. And I want to actually hear herself climb herself out of this hole. And then she was like, oh, well, I thought this was like, you guys were like a work thing, or he's like your manager or something like that. And I'm just like, so that's when in my head, I'm like, it is time to leave. So I wrap up the conversation, but her face when I said we were together, the rage, and it was like jealousy mixed with, why is she with someone, you know, my counterpart or someone I should be with? And I was like, that's on you, sis. But this is a typical rage of someone who, if you are if you are in a relationship they believe that you shouldn't have access to, or you're with someone that they believe you shouldn't have access to, or you're doing something that they believe you shouldn't have access to, it's a problem. And it'll be a microaggression. They won't come out right out typically and say it, but you can see it on their face and the type of questions that are being asked that are just not appropriate. You can see it. And what's really interesting is I'm actually going through my Black Moon Lilith return, which I talk about in the book. This happens every 9 years when you look at the mean calculation of Black Moon Lilith, the average of the oscillation of the lunar apogee. When you look at that every 9 years, you can face some of the same themes and really revisit those themes around your Black Moon Lilith in Leo. And it was like a full circle moment. I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm back in high school, or back trying to deal with this microaggression of this white woman who is shocked that I am with someone of the same skin color as her. It was really confusing. So it didn't stop there. So I was like subtly, going to grab my boyfriend. I was like, oh, I'm really hungry. Like, let's leave. And her friend, actually, she's like, let me introduce you to my friend. And I'm like, oh no, but we're nice. So we go and say hi to the friend. And the friend is chatting, and she was like, I told her what I did. She was talking about what she did. I told her what I did. And she was like, oh, is he your manager? Like, pointing at my boyfriend. And I was like, is he your publisher? I was like, no, this is my partner. Like, I was just like, I think she probably saw my face, because I was like, at that point I couldn't control my face. I'm a Cancer rising at that late degree. I'm like, and so then I'm like, let's go. So we finally left. But there were other things that actually had happened at Art Week and Art Basel along the similar vein, but the white rage is real, and it's something that you have to deal with probably for the rest of your life until the world takes a look at their ingrained racism. But But yeah, it was my Black Moon Lilith return, and Black Moon Lilith's coming in hot. And even though Black Moon Lilith mean calculation is in Virgo, we are still experiencing the tail end of Black Moon Lilith in Leo because it's still in Leo in the true calculation. So you can learn more about Black Moon Lilith by checking out my book and deck. Thanks for listening.
Like, seriously, when I saw this on my For You page on TikTok, I was like, yeah, she is just hitting it. Like, white range exists. It do exist. Like, just come to think of it. Okay, you are an upper class. You decided to go to a kind of like, you decided to colonize some particular, kind of people. You brought them into your hometown. After bringing these people from into your hometown, you strip them of everything they ever existed for. Their culture, everything about them. They decided to be your slaves. They served your children, become your nanny. Some were even, molested and all of that. And, so many years later, they decided that, okay, with the help of this or that, they were freed. And they decided to, start doing something for themselves. They decided to create wealth for themselves, even after when they must have stripped off and also blocked, every opportunity for them to come up there. Then with all these struggles, all these hindrances on the way to success, and they decided and they succeeded afterward. Then you coming out from your luxurious home, luxurious luxurious neighborhood. You find these oppressed people that you once, that once served you, like as a master. What do you expect? What do you expect them to feel? Like, they are definitely gonna feel like, are you kidding me right now? Is it not these people that were supposed to be underneath? These people are supposed to be under there. So what are they doing here? And you think this kind of people wouldn't make everything possible for you to live that kind of sin, like for you to live that kind of life you're living, like for you to stop living this kind of life you're living. Like, this is how Ray and Sis begin. This is how it's just everywhere. Like, but the way they put it as white range, like white range, oh my goodness. I could just imagine the feeling like this does not happen only in the neighborhood. It happened even in a supermarket. There is one video I staged on my own, on my other channel, Belinda Stranad, where this guy was sharing his experience. Like, he had white friend, so they decided to go into a restaurant, because he often argued this with his friend, like, you are more privileged than me. And the friend decided, like, oh my goodness, stop saying that. Something like this does not happen. Ray and Sis doesn't happen at all. Like, he was like, okay, let me prove you wrong as a black person. Let us just walk into a restaurant, let us see if all what you're saying is the truth. So they decided to go into this, shopping mall. The friend, that's a white guy and a black guy who happens to be friends, but not too close friends. But because of the argument they have to do this experiment. So when I walked into the supermarket, this white dude decided to take water that he didn't pay for. Like, he decided to pick something that he didn't pay for. Then on walking out from there, the security man have to stop the black man who didn't do nothing. You have to start searching the, black man. Like, they just walked into that, environment. The environment decided to come out something like a window shopping. So the black man was searched, but the friend who happened to pick something wasn't. The black man was searched before leaving there, but this friend who happens to pick something was not searched. Like he have to turn back. I was like, oh my, excuse me, I actually picked something I have not paid for. And we're like, oh, okay, you can just pay for it, and that is it. Let's just reverse the case, and it was actually this black person that did this. Do you think that they won't call a cop on him even if it's a prank? Do you think so? Like, oh my God, these people must have stripped, as in they have already done that, already stripped everything, tried to, not to let you get there, but with your struggles, because black people are strong. They are strong and intelligent. So with your struggles, and you decided to be up there, trying to meet to their standard, they will be so raged. They will be so angry. Like, this is just something that I have noticed. This also happened in the workplace, in every area of our life. Be it restaurant, like when you go to a restaurant, you want to order something, maybe you want to order something that is just mind-blowing. They have to look at you first. They have to like, are you sure this person can afford this thing that he or she is ordering? Like, the look on their faces like you can't afford what you're ordering. This happened even in a restaurant. I stitched a video about some people, like people of color, went into a restaurant. They started ordering food. Like, they ordered food. After they must have made a reservation, they ordered food and they sat down to eat and enjoy themselves. They were ordering and paying money. Then the manager got so upset that they are now ordering too much and occupying space, that he have to call the cops on this couple to get out from the restaurant, because he felt the rage that, oh my goodness, who gave them the money that they are spending? They are not supposed to be here. After I must have ordered quite reasonable amount of money worth for food, and he decided to be so raged. He was so angry, and he decided to call the cabs that these people been here ordering food anyhow. Like, are you kidding me? They are actually spending their money. They are actually spending their money, but you're so paid that these people are spending their money. And this is the same case we have here. You can see she was actually trying to, frame this lady, because she felt that this lady does not, as in, she's not nothing. She's not supposed to be here. Her class, her kind of caliber is not supposed to be here. She was so pained. Like, she had to, with other experiences, those teachers that are staged, guys, really wonder, like, okay, how were you able to afford this place? Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, so they are the only ones that are meant to enjoy luxury in life. Why the people that they felt that they oppressed for a long time will begin, staying oppressed. This is why some of them have to get so jealous, envy, because, and this envy and jealousy leads to appropriation, cultural appropriation. Like, you guys are not meant to have this kind of culture. We are the one that is meant to have this kind of culture. Like, oh my goodness. This white range is a serious case. Guys, if you have an experience, you just share your own, because I actually love learning. I love to learn new things. Like, I couldn't even help it but like to smile when I was hearing these people stitching this video. And I have to this thing is just alarming, and it's happening. They feel so angry when they see that black people is succeeding. Let's just use another emphasis, like the one with Jericho. This woman have to, oh my God, she have to use this Jericho's reading, and she changed the lyrics. She tried to make it her own. I even went ahead to monetize it. She decided to condemn Jericho's and term it demonic. Like, this is the far that these people could just go. They will go this far to bring people of color down and promote themselves. She decided to term the Jericho song as demonic, then has a spiritual, like this is the one that God have accepted. And she called herself a writer, a songwriter, a musician, without trying to also, write your own song and put your own. Was you trying to colonize everything? And they keep telling us that colonization is long gone, racism is long gone. white range is long gone. Like, these things still exist one way or the other, and the more we just accept it and work towards bringing the balance, the better for everyone. Like, guys, wanna just leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video, and do not forget that this channel does not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We are just here for educational and informative purposes, guys. So please share this video, subscribe if you've not done that already, like, comment, and I will see you lovelies when I upload my next video.